In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the difference between expressions and equations. And before we have to figure out where these things are going to go, let's look at this Venn diagram. And on the left, I have expressions, and I notice the characteristics are no equal sign. So in an expression, I should not see an equal sign terms and operation signs, yes, but an equal sign, not if it's an expression. I also notice that it cannot be solved unless given a variable. Well, if an expression has a variable in it, you would be able to simplify it down as much as possible, but you would not be able to determine what the variable represents unless you're given that amount. And you evaluate an expression. You don't solve it, you evaluate an expression. So now let's look at the equation sign. And the first thing I notice is equation, equal, EQUA, EQUA. So I know that if I have an equation, there is going to be an equal sign in it because part of equal is in the word equation. Must solve for the variable. So if I have a variable in an equation, then I'm going to need to simplify and solve, use inverse operations to determine the value of that variable. And when I have equations, again, I solve. So now let's look at the factors that are common to both. Both expressions and equations have operations. Both have variables and both have numbers. So I'm going to see operations, addition sign, subtraction sign, multiply or divide, has variables. And we're going to take a look at the expressions that I have here. And I think what I'm going to do just to make sure we're consistent with this is I'm going to add some variables to that because right now these don't have variables and they have numbers. Well, these definitely have numbers. So let's come over here and I'm going to make this 24x and this is going to be 7y and this is going to be 5x and this is going to be 3x. Now, we're not going to actually solve these, but now what we're going to do is figure out where these would go. So I'm looking at my expressions, and if it does not have an equal sign, then they're going to go with the expression. Well, I'm looking at this, and I have numbers, I have a variable, I have operation signs, but there's no equal sign. So this, I'm going to put over here as an expression because it meets the criteria here. And I'm looking at this one. I have 2 parentheses, 7y plus 5 parentheses, but again, no equal sign. So I can move this here because this is an expression. Now I'm noticing here is an equal sign. I have terms on one side, I have an equal sign, and I have a term on the other. And because it has an equal sign, I know this is going to be an equation. This also has terms on one side, a term on the other, and an equal sign. So I know this is going to be an equation. So in looking at the terms and operation signs that I have moved, I have noticed that if it's an expression, I do not see an equal sign anywhere. If it's an equation, it has an equal sign. So the difference between an expression and an equation is that an equation has an equal sign and an expression does not.